When the call for help echoed through space, Earth's fleet responded. Space was full of old satellites, broken beacons, and random bursts of energy. But this signal did not feel random. It came again, repeating itself in a slow, steady rhythm. The team could not make out words at first. It sounded like a broken song, a call that had been cut into pieces. The pattern was clear enough, though, and it carried a strange weight. It was a call for help. At the deep space monitoring station on the far side of the moon, the crew watched the data in silence. The room was filled with soft screens, low lights, and the quiet breathing of machines. Captain John Harris stood behind the analysts, looking at the screen with a steady expression. He had seen many strange things in space, but he had never seen a signal like this. "What is it?" asked Ryan Brooks, one of the senior analysts. His voice was calm, but his eyes showed a hint of excitement. Kate Miller, another analyst, shook her head slowly. "It is repeating," she said. "It is not a normal burst. It has a pattern. It has intent." Something that wanted to be heard. Captain Harris leaned closer to the screen. "Can we decode it?" The team watched the signal, waiting for more information. The monitor showed a long line of repeating pulses, each one slightly different from the last. It was like a person tapping on a wall, trying to get attention. After a few minutes, the signal changed. It grew stronger, as if the sender was moving closer to the station. The team watched the numbers climb, and the sound in the room became clearer. The pulses turned into a strange kind of language, one that was not sound but structure. "It is trying to send a message," Ryan said. "It is not just a call, it is a story. It is trying to tell us something." Kate began typing quickly. "We can try," she said. "The signal is weak, but it is not completely lost. If we adjust the filters and focus the array, we might be able to narrow the source." For a while, the only sound was the gentle hum of the machines. Then the source appeared on the screen. The signal was coming from deep space, far beyond the known borders of human exploration. It was beyond the last mapped star system, beyond the reach of most long-range probes. It was a place that only a few ships had ever visited, and even those ships had only gone because they were lost or desperate. The location was not near any known alien civilization. It was not near any known trade route. It was simply out there. Alone. Captain Harris stared at the coordinates. He could feel the weight of the decision in his chest. He knew what the signal meant. He knew that something out there was in trouble. He also knew that answering the call could bring danger. He turned to the team. "We need to inform command," he said. The team nodded. They had already prepared a report. Kate sent the data to Earth's Unified Command Center, a place where decisions were made for the whole planet. The message was simple. A signal had been detected, repeating in a structured way, coming from deep space beyond known boundaries. The signal seemed to be a call for help. It took only a few minutes for the command center to respond. "Captain Harris," the message said, "do you have a clear identification of the signal?" "They want to know if it is a known language," she said. Harris shook his head. "Not known," he said, "but it has structure, it has meaning, it is not random noise." Earth had only recently stepped into the wider galaxy. The planet was still building its defenses and learning how to communicate with other species. A wrong move could bring a new enemy to Earth's doorstep. But the signal was a call for help. Ignoring it felt wrong. Kate spoke softly. "Captain, the signal is getting stronger. It is like the sender is moving closer to us." A species running through space, desperate for help, would not be a small problem. It would be a huge problem, but it would also be a chance to show what Earth could be. He stared at the signal, then at the team. "Send a reply," he said. Kate froze. "Captain," she said, "command told us not to respond. We cannot ignore a call for help just because it is dangerous." "We are coming." Everyone held their breath. Then the signal shifted. It changed its rhythm as if it had heard the reply and was responding in turn. The new pattern was different, more urgent. It was as if the sender was now trying to communicate faster, trying to make sure Earth understood. The team watched the screen in stunned silence. "Captain," Ryan whispered. "They are responding." But the structure was strong enough to tell the team that the sender was trying to explain something. It was not just a call for help. It was a warning. Kate stared at the data, her brow furrowed. "It is saying something about a shadow," she said. "Something about a hunter. The signal is trying to warn us about a force that follows them." "Captain Harris," it said, "you have violated protocol. Do not engage, do not approach. We will send instructions." "Too far for us to reach quickly," she said. "It will take weeks with our current ships." Earth's fleet was not huge. But it was growing. The fleet had been built for defense, exploration, and rescue. It had ships designed to travel long distances, to protect, and to fight if needed. They were not the strongest in the galaxy, but they were strong enough to matter. The thought of sending a ship into unknown space without full command approval made Harris uneasy. But the idea of leaving a species to die and allowing a predator to continue hunting felt worse. He looked at the signal again. The message was clear. It was a call for help. It was also a warning. Harris spoke softly but with firm resolve. "We will not abandon them," he said. The team stared at him. Kate's eyes widened. Ryan's face grew serious. "What do we do?" Kate asked. Harris took a deep breath. "We prepare a ship," he said. "We prepare a crew. We go to the source of the signal. We can leave, or we can do what is right. We need to know what we are walking into." They looked for patterns in the pulses, for anything that could reveal the hunter's nature. The more they learned, the more the warning became clear. The hunter was not just a ship or a weapon. It was a force that moved quickly, that struck without warning, and that left no survivors. Captain Harris felt a heavy sadness in his chest. He thought of the sender, a species trapped in space, running from a predator. He thought of the possible victims, alone and terrified. He thought of Earth's place in the galaxy. He thought of what it meant to be human. The morning came, and the command center sent another message. "Captain Harris," it said, "we are reviewing the situation. Do not act without orders. Your ship is not authorized to engage." He thought of the small point of light where Earth sat, a blue planet filled with people who had never known true danger. He turned back to his team. "We will wait for command," he said, "but we will also prepare. If the call grows stronger, if the sender's signal changes, we will know that time is running out." Ryan stared at the signal, his eyes fixed on the repeating pattern. "They are still there," he whispered. "They are still calling." The call for help had reached Earth. It had been heard, and for the first time, Earth had a choice to make. The signal continued to echo through space, repeating its message over and over. It was a simple message, but it carried a deep meaning. It was a message of fear, of hope, and of desperate need. And on Earth, a fleet began to prepare quietly in the shadow of the stars. The command center on Earth did not move quickly. They were cautious, careful, and afraid of making a mistake. They watched the signal and studied the data. They held meetings and spoke in quiet rooms. They talked about rules, about risks, and about the unknown. Admiral Alex Turner sat in a large room with glass walls. The room looked out at the Earth below. It was a beautiful sight, but it did not comfort him. The planet looked small and fragile from space. He listened to the reports from Captain Harris. He listened to the warning about the hunter. He listened to the call for help. He listened to the team's desire to respond. "Admiral," one of his officers said, "we have no proof the signal is real. It could be a trap." The world had been slow to build its fleet. The world had been slow to trust itself. The world had been slow to act. But now the call for help was real. The signal was real. The fear was real too. "Send a task force," Alex Turner said. "Not the whole fleet, a small group, a group that can move quickly and quietly." It was not a full commitment. It was not a declaration of war. It was a small step into the unknown. "Who will lead?" asked one officer. Alex Turner thought for a moment. The job required someone brave, someone smart, someone who could stay calm under pressure. He thought of Captain John Harris. "Captain Harris will lead," he said. "He has already heard the call. He has already shown he understands what it means. Make sure they are ready for anything." Ships left the main bases without public announcements. People in the streets went on with their lives, unaware that a small part of their fleet was heading into deep space. Captain Harris stood on the deck of the ship that would carry the task force. The ship was called the Unity. It was not the largest ship in the fleet, but it was one of the best. It was built for speed, protection, and long travel. It had a strong crew and it had a strong heart. Harris looked at the crew as they prepared. Some were young, new to space. Some were older, with scars and experience. All of them looked serious. They knew they were going into the unknown. "Captain," said Lieutenant Megan Ross, the ship's communications officer, "we have the final data. The signal is still repeating. But at least we will know we tried." They also prepared for the worst. They packed extra food, extra water, and extra medical supplies. They loaded the ship with supplies that might be needed by the species sending the signal. They packed tools and repair parts. They packed blankets and medicines. They packed anything that could help a group of desperate people. As the ship moved away from Earth, the crew watched the planet shrink behind them. The blue and white world became smaller and smaller until it was just a bright dot in the dark. No one spoke. The silence was heavy. Then the ship's first officer, Paul Carter, spoke quietly. "Captain," he said, "do we have any idea what the hunter is?" The signal is not clear enough, but the structure of the message suggests the hunter is not a ship. It may be a force, it may be a group, it may be something we cannot imagine. The crew took shifts, sleeping and working in turns. They passed through empty space where nothing existed but dark and silence. They passed old ruins of satellites and broken stations. They passed fields of debris floating like a storm of metal. The signal grew stronger as they moved closer to the coordinates. The crew could feel it in the ship's systems. The monitors showed the increasing strength. The signal was like a heartbeat growing louder with each mile. One night while Harris was in his quarters, the ship's alarm sounded. It was not a loud alarm. It was a soft, steady tone, the kind that warned of a minor problem. Harris rushed to the bridge. The crew was already there, watching the screen. "What is it?" Harris asked. Lieutenant Ross looked at him. "We picked up another signal," she said. "It is not from the same source, it is different." "Can we track it?" Harris asked. Ross shook her head. "It is moving too fast," she said. "It is like it is riding the edges of space." It was a message of fear and hope. It was a message that said, "We are here, we are dying, please help us." The crew did not speak, they listened. Then the signal changed. The message shifted from a call for help to a sound of warning. It became urgent, it became fast, it became desperate. "Captain," Ross said, "they are being attacked." He had been prepared for danger, but not for the idea that the sender was already under attack. He had not expected to arrive too late. He looked at the coordinates again. The signal was now coming from a nearby region of space. The sender was close, very close. "Prepare for arrival," Harris said. "We are going in." The ship moved into the region where the signal was strongest. The stars seemed to blur as the ship traveled faster than it had before. Then the Unity emerged into a field of wreckage. Metal floated in the darkness like dead fish. Broken ships drifted silently, their lights long gone. The remains of a station hung in space, half destroyed, half burning. The scene was silent and deadly. The Unity's crew stared at the wreckage in shock. They had expected to find a world in trouble. They had not expected this. Harris felt his heart sink. He could not see the sender. He could not see any living ships. The signal was still there, but the source was hidden. The crew waited. Then in the distance, a small ship appeared. It was damaged, moving slowly. It looked like it had been torn apart and stitched back together. It was clearly struggling to stay alive. The ship's lights were weak. The crew inside must be exhausted, scared, and injured. The Unity moved closer, keeping its distance. Harris watched the small ship on the screen. He could feel the fear in his chest. The ship's signal grew stronger. It was clear now. The message was simple. "Help," Harris spoke quietly. "Open a channel," he said. Lieutenant Ross nodded. She opened the communication channel. The Unity's voice came through the ship's speakers, calm and steady. "This is Captain John Harris of the Unity," he said. "We are here to help. Who are you?" "We are the Nara," the voice said. "We are under attack. The hunter is near. Please help us." "Tell us what the hunter is." "We have to act," he said. "We cannot just stand here." The call for help had finally reached Earth's fleet, and now Earth's fleet was here. The story was only beginning. The Unity moved slowly through the wreckage field, keeping a careful distance from the damaged Nara ship. The crew on the bridge watched the small ship on the screen, waiting for any sign of danger. The Nara ship looked weak, like it could fall apart at any moment. Its hull was torn and its lights flickered. It was a ship that had survived too long. Captain Harris watched the signal's strength. The Nara voice was still coming through, but the message was now broken, as if the sender was losing power. The call for help sounded more desperate than ever. Lieutenant Megan Ross kept the communication channel open. She listened to the Nara voice, trying to understand the language. She had learned some of it from the signal, but it was still not clear. The Nara voice spoke again, weak and urgent. "The hunter is close," it said. "It is coming. We do not have much time." They had come here to help. They would not leave. "We will protect you," Harris said, speaking through the channel. "Tell us where your people are. Tell us where your ships are hiding. We are trying to reach a safe place." The hunter was not just hunting ships. It was hunting worlds. It was destroying entire civilizations. He looked at his crew. "We need to find the pods," he said. "We need to rescue the survivors." "We will find them." "Captain," Ross said, "we have a beacon. It is small. It is weak, but it is real." It was shaped like a rounded capsule with a small window. The pod looked fragile, but it was holding together. The pod's beacon was weak, but it was strong enough to guide the Unity. The Unity moved closer. The pod's door opened slowly. A figure floated out, wearing a suit that looked old and patched. The figure was thin with a tired face. It looked like it had not slept in a long time. The figure drifted toward the Unity, and the crew held their breath. Captain Harris watched the figure through the ship's view screen. He saw the face. It was not human, but the eyes were familiar. They held a deep sadness. The figure spoke through a translator device. The voice was weak but clear. "Thank you," it said. "You came." He only knew that the Nara were real. They were alive. They were frightened. "We are here to help," Harris said. "We will take you aboard. We will keep you safe." The pod was brought into the Unity's docking bay. The doors opened, and the Nara survivor was carefully brought inside. The medical team rushed to help, checking for injuries and giving water. The survivor's name was Lyra. She was one of the few Nara left. She was weak, but she was alive. Harris sat beside her in the medical bay. He did not want to scare her. He wanted to show her that Earth had come to help. Lyra looked at him with tired eyes. "You are human," she said. Harris nodded. "Yes," he said. "We are here to help you." He had not expected them to feel so alone. "We are here now," he said. "We will not leave you." He had expected the Hunter to be a ship. He had expected a battle. He had not expected a force. "What does it look like?" Harris asked. Lyra hesitated. "It is hard to describe," she said. "It is dark. It is like a storm. It is like a wall of black. It moves without sound. It moves without shape. It is like the end of everything." He thought of Earth. He thought of the people on the planet below. He thought of the fleet. He looked at his crew. They were watching from the doorway, listening. They were afraid. They were also ready. "We have to fight," Paul said. Harris nodded. "Yes," he said, "but we must be smart. We cannot fight a force with a ship. We could use the Unity as bait. We could lead it away from the Nara survivors." He made a decision. "We will do it," he said. "We will lure the Hunter away. We will give the Nara time to escape. We will draw the Hunter away from the Nara." He knew the Unity would be alone. The ship moved deeper into space. The stars seemed to blur as the ship traveled faster. The crew watched the monitors, waiting for the Hunter to appear. Then suddenly the space ahead of them darkened. The screens went black for a moment. The ship's lights flickered. The crew held their breath. A shape appeared in front of the Unity. It was not a ship. It was not a solid object. It was a dark mass like a shadow in space. It moved slowly but with purpose. It was like a wall of darkness moving toward them. The Hunter had arrived. The crew stared in shock. They had never seen anything like it. They could feel the fear in their bodies. They could feel the cold. Captain Harris stood at the front of the bridge. He looked at the Hunter. He did not know how to fight it. He did not know how to destroy it. He only knew that he had to protect his crew and the Nara survivors. "Brace for impact," he said. The ship shook. The Hunter's presence hit the Unity like a wave. The lights flickered. The ship's shields strained. The crew held on to their seats. The ship groaned under the pressure. The Hunter did not attack like a weapon. It attacked like a force of nature. The Unity's shields held for a moment, then began to fail. The dark mass pressed against the ship like a hand. The crew watched in horror as the Hunter began to pull at the ship. It felt like the ship was being pulled into the darkness. Captain Harris shouted, "Full power to engines, move away." The Hunter's force tried to pull the ship back. The two forces battled like a tug of war. The ship shook again. The crew screamed. The lights flickered. The ship's systems began to fail. Then suddenly the Hunter released. The dark mass moved away from the ship as if it had lost interest. The ship's shields recovered. The lights steadied. The crew breathed again. Captain Harris looked at the screens. The Hunter was still there, but it was not attacking. It was watching. The Unity moved away as fast as it could. The Hunter followed, but it did not move as fast. It seemed to be holding back, waiting. Harris looked at his crew. He could see the fear in their eyes. He could see the new understanding. They were facing something they had never seen before. Something that could destroy them all. But they were not alone. The Nara survivors were escaping. The call for help had been answered. And now the Hunter had noticed Earth. The Unity moved as fast as it could through the dark space. The Hunter was behind them, following like a shadow that would not let go. The crew watched the screens, waiting for another attack. Every second felt like a long minute. Every breath felt heavy. Captain John Harris stood on the bridge, staring at the dark mass on the screen. He could not understand it. He could not fight it with normal weapons. He could not destroy it with normal tactics. It was not a ship. It was not a weapon. It was something else. Lieutenant Megan Ross spoke softly. "Captain, the Hunter is still following. Or maybe it is waiting for the right moment. We need to find a way to stop it," he said. "We cannot keep running." "So it is drawn to power," he said. "It is like a moth to a flame." But it was there. Harris turned to Ross. Can we draw the hunter into that system? He asked. Ross nodded slowly. Yes, she said. We can make the hunter follow us. We can lead it into the planet's gravity. And if we can damage it while it is slowed, maybe we can stop it. It looked like a dead world. The ship's engines roared as they approached. The hunter stayed behind, following. As the Unity entered the planet's gravity field, the ship slowed. The crew felt the pull. The ship's path curved. The hunter followed, but the gravity pulled it differently. The dark mass shifted as if it was struggling to move through the gravity. It moved slower and its shape changed. The hunter looked less like a wall and more like a cloud. Harris felt hope. The hunter was being affected by gravity. That meant it was not completely free. That meant it could be trapped. Now, Harris said, now we strike. Nara survivors, she said. We are going to fight the hunter. We need you to move further away. We will try to stop it. The ship's weapon systems were ready. The crew was ready. The ship's shields were strong, but they were not strong enough to fight the hunter directly. Harris looked at the screen. The hunter was near. The dark mass was large and slow. Fire the magnetic pulses, Harris said. Ross looked at him. Captain, magnetic pulses may not work, she said. The hunter is not a ship. I know, he said, but we need to try something. We need to do something different. The crew watched in shock. The hunter reacted. Harris felt a surge of hope. It can be affected, he said. Paul spoke up. Then we can fight it, he said. We can push it. We can force it into the planet's gravity. The planet's gravity pulled it down, pulling it away from the Unity. The hunter's shape became unstable. It began to break apart like a cloud being torn by wind. The crew watched in silence. They could not believe what they were seeing. The hunter was weakening. Harris felt a heavy weight lift from his chest. He felt hope again. But the hunter was not finished. The dark mass gathered itself. It moved quickly like a sudden storm. It surged toward the Unity. The ship shook. The shields flared. The crew screamed. Harris shouted, "All power to engines, move us away." The hunter stretched behind like a shadow being pulled. The Unity's shields began to fail. The ship's systems started to flicker. The crew held on, fear in their eyes. Harris knew they were in danger. He knew the ship might not survive. He knew the crew might die. But he also knew the Nara survivors were still alive. They were moving away. They were counting on him. He looked at the screens. He saw the hunter struggling. He saw the gravity pulling it down. He saw the dark mass breaking. He made a decision. "Prepare the ship for a final move," he said. "We will use the ship's core as a lure. If we overload the core, it will create a strong energy pulse," she said. "It will attract the hunter. It may draw it into the planet." The dark mass shifted, moving toward the Unity like a hungry animal. The Unity's core reached full power. The ship shook. The energy pulse was ready. Harris spoke calmly. "Now," he said. Ross activated the overload. The ship's core released a massive pulse of energy. The pulse spread out into space like a bright wave. The hunter reacted instantly. The dark mass surged toward the pulse. It was drawn to the energy like a magnet. It moved faster, losing control. The planet's gravity pulled the hunter down. The dark mass was forced into the planet's atmosphere. The hunter screamed in a soundless way, like a storm trapped in a bottle. The Unity shook violently. The ship's shields failed. The ship's systems began to shut down. Harris felt the ship fall. He felt the weight of the planet's gravity. He felt the fear. He looked at his crew. They were holding on, their faces pale. They were afraid. They were ready. The Unity fell into the planet's atmosphere. The ship's heat shields burned. The ship shook. The crew held on. Then suddenly the ship broke free. The energy pulse had done its work. The hunter was trapped in the planet's gravity. The dark mass could not escape. It was pulled down, forced into the planet's surface. The Unity's systems failed completely. The ship went dark. The crew held their breath. For a moment there was silence. Then the ship's emergency systems came online. The lights returned, weak but steady. The ship's engines worked again, but only at low power. Harris looked at the screen. The hunter was gone. The planet was quiet. The dark mass had disappeared into the planet. The crew cheered quietly. They were alive. They had won. But the victory was not without cost. The Unity was damaged. The ship's systems were weak. The crew was tired. The ship was far from Earth. The Nara survivors were still out there, but now they were safe. Captain Harris looked at the crew. He saw their faces. He saw their fear. He saw their courage. He spoke softly. "We did it," he said. "We stopped the hunter." Lyra, the Nara survivor, spoke through the communication channel. Her voice was weak, but it was filled with gratitude. "Thank you," she said. "You saved us. We will tell the galaxy about you." They knew the galaxy had changed. When the ship reached the edge of the known space, the signal from Earth appeared on the screen. The command center was waiting. They had been watching, waiting for news. Captain Harris opened the channel. "This is Captain John Harris of the Unity," he said. "We have completed the mission. The hunter is stopped. The Nara survivors are safe. We are returning to Earth." He knew the galaxy would never be the same, but he also knew that Earth had made a choice. Earth had chosen to help, and that choice had changed everything.